Welcome, everyone, to the Week 7 series of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Gann, alongside my partner, Jack McNicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. If you had not had the chance, go check out our website at justsayingfootball.com and check us out on Instagram at justsayingnogwjs for our latest article and video updates. Week 7 kicks off at 1 o'clock. We got a few teams on bye this week, including my Minnesota Vikings, Miami Dolphins, Indianapolis Colts, and the Baltimore Ravens. So if you're a fantasy owner of those teams, better be looking on your waivers, making some pickups. Sunday's games, we got 7 at 1 o'clock. Let's start with the Pittsburgh Steelers take on the Tennessee Titans. Originally supposed to be a Week 3 game, but because of the COVID case of the Tennessee Titans, got moved to Week 7, which is now, Jack, run us through that game.
Well, we got two undefeated teams that, because of the rescheduling, are 5-0 going into this. And we got an unstoppable force move against a immovable object in Mr. Derrick Henry going up against this Steelers defense. That has looked incredible this year. We've gotten to see them on all angles. T.J. Watt, Bud Dupree, Cam Hayward. They'll hit you from all angles. And they have Minkah Fitzpatrick sitting there. He could be in the middle of the field or deep. This guy's going to be all over the field like he was last week, getting a touchdown. We're looking at this game with Derrick Henry after that 250 yards from scrimmage last week and the game-winning touchdown against the Texans.
Yeah, you're looking at these two teams. You're absolutely right. It's the defense of the Steelers against Derrick Henry. As great as Tannehill has been, he's been absolutely electrifying this year. Don't get me wrong. It runs through Derrick Henry. That's how this team operates. It's about running the ball, getting the ball down. Yeah, he's a king for a reason. Getting the ball down the field and putting up as many points as they possibly can. They do a great job at it. The Steelers have had a great run defense. This is going to be really, really hard. No matter what, no matter how many yards he has, even if it's at 25 carries or 25 yards after 10 carries, we know that he's going to see around, 18 to 27 carries this game, no matter what. They will not abandon that run game because what's complemented them so well in the pass game is that play action. That is where Tannehill has been just the absolute most lethal. A.J. Brown went off for them last week, and he should be back in the lineup, even though he's listed he did not participate in practice on Thursday. He's going to be back in the lineup. That's Tannehill's go-to guy. It's going to be a great matchup of the Fitzpatrick Hayden versus A.J. Brown Tannehill as well that people may sleep on. But look out for that matchup as well. It's going to be a great one.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, A.J. Brown, he's going to be a factor when he plays. He missed. He got to play week 1, had a good, solid game. But, last week he got to come out and, he had 7 targets. He had 5 catches, 58 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. He looked like we saw him last year. And I have a question for you as an A.J. Brown fan, as somebody who last year you were big on him in his rookie season. Who's getting more yards, him or Juju?
A lot of people have been, especially fantasy owners, have not liked what Juju has done so far this season. And I feel like what the Steelers have done is say, yeah, we have a great wide receiver, but look at all these other players that we have that can score and do well. And so that's why Juju isn't doing as well statistically as other wide receivers are. It's really just that the Steelers are opening up their offensive playbook a lot more. And I think this is the game that Juju kind of gets it going again with Ben that we saw against that week 1 performance against the Giants. I think this is that weekend where it happens. Although I'm going to lean towards A.J. Brown, and it's just because Tannehill will look his way no matter what. Doesn't matter what the game plan is drawing up. A.J. Brown is always his first look. If not, it's going to go right to Jonnu Smith. So I feel like Brown is going to have the better game based on the fact that he just gets the looks, but that this is the game where Juju finally gets 100 yards. Yes, Juju's getting 100 yards. It's been a while. We haven't seen it yet this season. And this is where he finally gets it done. If you're a fantasy over Juju, you're going to be happy about this performance. If you're a fan of the Steelers, you're going to be happy to see your wide receiver 1 doing what wide receivers 1 do. So it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for the Steelers to take this one. I've loved how they've played. I think that they've been able to, when James Conner, he's been able to be healthier this year than in the last year. I'm looking a lot for their run game to make sure that they keep the clock and keep the ball away from Derrick Henry so that their defense has more time and more opportunities, less time on the field to just attack this Titans team and really keep them in the back of the gate. So I'm going with the Steelers on this one.
I like that pick. I'm going to defer from you. I'm actually going to go with the Tennessee Titans. And the main reason why is I liked what they did last week. They went up. The Texans immediately came back, took the lead, they tied the game, they went to OT, and they just drove and marched right down the field and scored the game winning. That's what I want to see 6 weeks into the season with my team. We're going to play to the last whistle, play to the last minute. It doesn't matter what the lead is, what the score is. We're going to keep on driving. We know we're going to win the game. And that's what I liked about them, especially in a tough AFC South matchup last week. So I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, two tough teams. And now, we got two NFC East rivals going against each other, the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington football team. And, with Dak out, we saw this Cowboys team get embarrassed last week. I'm not a fan of the Cowboys by any means, but they did not show up for that game. And they said the coaches were unprepared. Well, Ron Rivera, after last week missing that 2-point conversion against the Giants, he's going to make sure that his guys are prepared. And it's going to be on Ezekiel Elliott to, help this team. He's going to have to be with it. We've seen him help this team win games on the back of his shoulders. And, we were joking earlier in the season about how he got the tattoo, the feed me. He needs to be fed. If he's going to be fed, it needs to be against this NFC East rival. And, with Philly winning the other day, Dallas is going to have to compete with them. No matter who has a losing record, they're both still trying to win this division.
If you're a Cowboys fan, you're sad about what just transpired, obviously, with Dak Prescott. You're even more upset about the loss that you just took last Monday. That was a tough pill to swallow, watching the team really, really struggle. And then watching your superstar running back cough up 2 fumbles in a game where you just wouldn't expect him to cough up fumbles like that.
No.
This is a very weird game to me. I think the NFC East is already a weird division, and the Cowboys have a very good opportunity to still win it. But they do not have Zach Martin this week. And that's huge because the front defensive four, we've been talking about all year, of the Washington football team is their strength. They dominate. Yeah. And against the Cardinals last week, Andy Dalton was just getting sacked, was getting thrown around, could not get anything going. He threw 2 interceptions. It's just not what you wanted to see from Dalton. This is not what you're looking for when you have all these different playmakers at your arsenal. I think you're right. It needs to go through Zeke this week. Let's get back to our fundamentals. Let's get back to our identity. We're a run-first team. Let's get him over 120 yards this week. Let's give him 20 carries. Let's give him some passes. But I don't see them winning this game, believe it or not. I think we're going to see a 3-way NFC East tie all of a sudden when the Washington football team goes and wins. This core of the defense, I think, it can absolutely dominate with a pretty weak offensive line for the Cowboys now. That was the strength of this team. For years, everyone was saying they built their team around the offensive line. And now the offensive line is gone. Frederick has retired. Zach Martin is injured. Tyron Smith is injured. Leo Collins has been on and off the field. This is not the offensive line that we have come to know and love that dominates.
Yeah.
I'm Chase Young. I'm Jared Allen. I'm getting hyped. I'm looking to just kill Andy Dalton this week and just go ham and let's get up the sack totals. Let's look great.
Yeah, speaking of Andy Dalton, I've been one to criticize Andy Dalton in the past when he was on the Bengals, and I understand why he's in Dallas this year. It's a great family move for him, but it's going to have to really be on his shoulders. There is no option here. There's no competition or anything between him and the fact is Dak cannot play for the rest of the season. This is now Dalton's team. Yep. If he wants this team and he wants to operate, he's going to actually have to show that he can command this offense and be the leader and drive the field. And of course, you don't want to see Zeke fumble the ball away twice. That he'll never do that again. That's the other thing you have to think about. But I'm looking at
it's like when Aaron Rodgers throws 2 interceptions in a game. It's going to be the one game of this year that they do that. Then it's not going to happen again for the rest of the season.
Exactly. So I'm going to go with Dallas, though. I think that after last week, they understand that Andy Dalton is there, and that's the situation. They have 3 great receivers. I'm looking for a big one in this. Now, we're looking,
Whoa. Just before we move on, I got one question about this because I just want to give some respect to the offense of the Washington football team. Does Terry McLaurin get over 100 yards receiving on a very, very weak defensive secondary of the Cowboys?
Do
we see 100-plus yards?
I'm looking for a huge productive day out of Terry McLaurin. I love him. I think he's an all-natural talent. He's a young guy, second year, and he wasn't drafted high. He was a middle-round pick. I really want to see him flourish in this offense. So I'm looking for, at least 10 targets from him. He can break away on a big one versus Dallas. Even I'm looking at 125, at least a touchdown for him. That's my call on Terry.
125 and a touchdown. All right, I like it. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next matchup we're going to, You know, we were talking about a team with the Dallas Cowboys. They have three solid receivers. Buffalo also has three solid receivers. Stephon Diggs, former Viking. John Brown and Cole Beasley, both slot guys, speedsters, all great route runners. How can the Jets stop these guys?
I don't think the Jets will have an answer for Stephon Diggs whatsoever. I mean, he has just been playing great with Jared Allen. They look absolutely phenomenal together. I cannot say enough about Stephon Diggs and what they can do. I'm curious to see how the running game of the Bills does against a pretty easy Jets defense. What I want to see is a little bit more from Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. And for
Definitely.
well, Le'Veon Bell was a free agent for a quick second. I wanted the Bills to pick him up because that running identity of the Bills is non-existent with the exception of Allen. And you cannot have – I mean, Lamar Jackson is maybe the exception, but for a team like that to have him be their number one running back, for him to have the most yards during the game running, it's not what you want to see. You want to see a little bit more. We saw some glimpses of things from TJ Yeldon and I think it was against the Chiefs. It might have been the week before where he ran the ball fairly well. But you got to see a little bit more of them. I don't think the Jets can do anything to stop this team defensively. If you're the Jets fans, you're excited that Sam Darnold is back. He's an upgrade from Joe Flacco. And Denzel Mims is in the lineup for the first time. So you want to see what your rookie wide receiver can do, considering that Jamison Crowder is questionable and he may not be in. And then after that, it's going to be Braxton Berrios. So you want to see what your young rookie wide receiver can do. See if he's going to be the guy of the future going forward.
You mentioned Denzel Mims, and that's a great person to mention. A rookie out of Baylor who was able to show a lot of athleticism and great hands. And that's really what the Jets need. They really need somebody to come in there and be that number one receiver. They wanted Quincy Enunwa to be the number one receiver. Jamison Crowder is there as the number one target, but he is not a true number one wide receiver in a lot of people's minds. Denzel Mims can be that person. For me, I just have a real problem here with the Jets defense right now. Their offense could flourish a little bit this week and show some flashes with new players, but the main factor for me why I have to choose Buffalo is the fact that, the Jets are ranked 29th in points allowed. And we saw, the Bills battle against Kansas City last week. Of course they had a tough game against the Titans, and the Titans we mentioned are a tough team to beat. But, I think that, the Jets are just giving up too many points, and this offense has looked great.
Yeah, you're the Bills right now. You couldn't be more happy to be playing the Jets off of this 2-game losing skid. This is going to be the game that kind of gets you back on track, lets you reestablish your offensive identity. Once again, Allen's been struggling the last 2 weeks. He's not been the player that we saw in the first 4 weeks. So hopefully he's going to get back to that player. And yeah, if you're the Jets, I think you're right. You may have a chance here to find some offensive opportunities. Josh Norman is out, which will be a little bit of a boost for the Jets offense and maybe put up a few more points than expected, but they're not going to walk away with the win, sadly, this week, I don't think. I think it's going to be the Bills Mafia for sure.
Bills Mafia, definitely. And, we're looking at that as just another division win for them too, and they want this division this year. And, what we're looking at here is another divisional matchup in the NFC South, very competitive division right now. Right now, with the Carolina Panthers going into New Orleans, how are you feeling about this Panthers team that has had to basically re-identify itself with Mike Davis as their main guy?
The Panthers took a tough loss last week against the Bears. I thought Teddy Bridgewater could overcome, and he struggled last week with 16 for 28, 216 yards, and 2 interceptions, which is not what you want to see. But again, great Bears defense. Usually pretty hard to pass on them, usually hard to score passing touchdowns on them as well. So you give them the benefit of the doubt. If you're a Saints fan, though, you're a little bit worried about this game, I think. And the main reason why is because your defense hasn't played amazing so far this year. It's given up a lot of points, a lot of yards, not what you've wanted to see. They're 18th in the passing yards. They're giving up around 237 yards passing. But Drew Brees with no Michael Thomas, again, he's back from his original high ankle sprain. He then re-injures his hand. He injures his hamstring this week in practice. Not going to be playing tomorrow. That's a huge loss for them. That is, and no Emmanuel Sanders as well, who you'd assume to now becoming that guy. He got put on the COVID-19 reserve list, so he's not going to be there. This is going to be a tough game for the Saints. They are going to be depleted in their weapons. That means Alvin Kamara, we're going to give you every single pass, every single run
Yeah.
possible, and some dabble in some Latavius Murray. But this is going to be a tough game. And I think that if you're the Panthers playing up against this defense, playing up against a depleted offense now, this is your chance to win. Put yourself in
Yeah.
this division, take a division win, put them at a 3-3 record, just at 500, and give yourself over that 500 mark and get yourself to 4-3.
Yeah, I mean, you get yourself to 4-3 right now, and you put the Saints at 3-3 while you're 4-3. I mean, yeah, it's just a tough situation for Saints fans going in this week. They do have a divisional game early in the season that could have big implications for them, and without their weapons, that means Drew Brees is not going to have a big game like we've seen him have in the past against the Panthers. The Panthers have played him. A lot of the guys on this defense knows how to play this offense. And with no Michael Thomas, with no Emmanuel Sanders, it's going to be Traquan Smith. And that, to you, looking at it, when you have to just deal with somebody, you're lucky the only guy you have is Alvin Kamara. Because this year, he has been an MVP candidate in my mind. The way that the quarterbacks have been playing, it's going to be tough for a running back to win. But seriously, the way that he is, he's leading the team in receiving yards. He's leading the team in rushing yards and touchdowns on both ends. I think that the Saints actually come out and win this game because of Alvin Kamara. But on the other side with Mike Davis, they have a receiving back too. This could be a very even matchup that goes to the end.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Panthers here. I think it's as much as a must-win game as it is for the Saints. I feel like it's more of a must-win game for the Panthers because of the low expectations that people had, including ourselves a little bit, for this team this year, and also a huge divisional matchup, which could then put you immediately into the second place, I believe, in the NFC South with this win.
Yeah,
with the Falcons sitting at 1-5, the Buccaneers sitting atop at 5-1. And then, or 5-2 now. 4-2. And to take this one against the Saints would just be huge. It means a lot more. It's also going to be in the Superdome. It's going to be in New Orleans. This is a momentum changer for the Panthers, and for them to get themselves a little bit back on track after the Bears lost. I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers. Teddy Bridgewater also played for the Saints last year, so he's practiced against that defense a bunch.
Yeah.
So he's going to know how this defense operates. He's going to know a little bit of the ins and outs of this team. That could be really beneficial for Teddy Bridgewater coming into this week.
Yeah, definitely. And our next matchup, we have the Houston Texans hosting the Green Bay Packers. We got to see the Packers. We were saying, are they going to make any mistakes going into the Bucks game? They had no turnovers, and they had a ton. They looked terrible. As an Aaron Rodgers fantasy owner, I was obviously upset. As a fan of the game, I was shocked that the adjustments were not there. This week against the Texans, who are 1-5 and have been struggling on both sides, I see Aaron Rodgers with a bounce-back game.
I mean, absolutely, he's bouncing back. As a fan of football, it's unusual to see Rodgers play that poorly. As a Vikings fan, ecstatic. That was like, to me, that was like, I don't know. That was like Christmas. Christmas just came early a little bit for me. I was so happy about that one. But he's going to bounce back. There is no questions asked about this week. He's going up against a really bad defense. If you're the Packers, you're a little bit worried in terms of J.J. Watt coming after you. David Bakhtiari is going to be out this week. He's one of the best, if not the best, offensive linemen in football currently. Darnell Savage and Kevin King are doubtful right now. Their defense of the Packers is going to be a little bit depleted, slightly possibly. And Aaron Jones came up on the injury report as questionable. And while I don't think that that's going to make or break the game because Aaron Rodgers can pass all over this team, what I am curious about to see is if A.J. Dillon is going to be seeing more reps this upcoming week with Jamal Williams now becoming the number one and him possibly being the number two if Aaron Jones remains questionable or it ends up being out for the game out of nowhere. It'd be fun to see a little bit of A.J. Dillon, the rookie out of Boston College. Really enjoyed him. I got to see him actually play in the game last year, and he was phenomenal. He's a great running back, has a lot of power to him. It'd be nice to see him in a pretty favorable matchup if Aaron Jones sits out.
Yeah, if Aaron Jones is out, A.J. Dillon, definitely they're going to find ways to get opportunities for him. They spent the second round pick on him, and while they had two great running backs, and Aaron Jones was the leading touchdown, the leader in touchdowns last year, and you can't really disregard that. But when he's out of the game, it could be a big run day for the Packers against this Houston Texans defense. I have a question for you though. Is it going to be Cooks or Adams who has more yards this week?
I think it's 100% going to be Devontae Adams. He's just by far one of the best wide receivers. He should be easily in your top 10. If he's not, I'd be uh, pretty surprised. As great as Cook has been the last 2 weeks for the team, this is a good defense. This is a good secondary. Even with Kevin King and Darnell Savage is doubtful, he's going to have to deal with Jair Alexander, who you and I were talking about last week. Then Jair Alexander will be able to shut him down. I
Yes.
genuinely think that. And this passing offense of the Texans has been hit and miss from time to time that we've seen. I just think that the Packers are coming at them with a little bit too much firepower, that
Yeah.
the Texans are going to be overwhelmed. And whenever you're playing up against like Aaron Rodgers, he can pick apart any defense. Didn't happen last week. He's going into one of those RELAX modes where he's going to dominate now. So, and Adams last week still went 6 receptions for 61 yards. So I can easily see him getting like 10 receptions for 120.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we both agree that the Packers can take this one.
Will take this one.
Yeah, will.
Not can. They're going to take that one.
They should. Deshaun Watson's a great quarterback on the other side of the Texans, but I think that Aaron Rodgers is fantastic after bad games. And speaking of somebody who has had some great games, some bad games this year, Baker Mayfield and the Browns are headed out to Cincinnati, just right up the road. Not too much travel. And, they are going to face this team for the second time this year in 7 weeks. And we got to, we did our Thursday night preview on this game, and Joe Burrow went absolutely off. He recorded 61, pass attempts, which is a record for a rookie. And, what are we expecting from this game?
I think Burrow can easily replicate what he did. You don't want to see 61 passes. That's not what I mean. You don't want to see 61 attempts. What I mean is he had 316 yards and 3 touchdowns. He has really kind of found a rhythm with this team. Tough couple weeks playing up against the Steelers. Then you get the Ravens. Then you get the Colts. These are some of the best defenses. And it sucks that they gave up that lead to the Colts towards the end of that. But I think this should be a really good game for him. There is going to be no Joe Mixon. Giovanni Bernard is a great running back. He can run between the tackles and he can catch the ball. He's a pretty good dual threat running back. So I think that they're going to rely a lot more on Joe Burrow's passing. I do expect him to have like 42 pass attempts, another high one against his team, because they're going to need to rely a little bit more on his passing ability than the run game. But he should have a solid game against them. And the person who I really wanted to highlight is T. Higgins. He has really stepped up for Burrow at times. The last 5 games, he's seen 6 or more targets, which is solid for your rookie second rounder. The last 3 games, he's had all over 60 yards. And he had a 125-yard performance last week against the top-ranked Colts. So that's what you want to see from these 2 young rookies of your team if you're Zach Taylor and you're the Bengals organization. However, all that being said, I think the Browns are going to still overpower them.
Yeah, I mean, so, you got the Browns. I think the Browns this week, Kareem Hunt is my X factor with Nick Chubb out the last couple of weeks. He's really been able to, show he's still an all-purpose back that can take 20-plus touches a game. And with Odell and Jarvis out there, although they've struggled at times, they still demand coverage. And, Kareem Hunt, I think, can take advantage this week against the Bengals. We saw him do it last time, and I want to see him replicate that. With Joe Mixon out, I am looking for a big game out of Myles Garrett. I feel like I have a Myles Garrett call every week because he is a dominant player. But he's faced some easy offensive lines this year, and it's going to be the same thing. I think that, I think Cleveland's going to take this one, but we do have to respect the fact that the Bengals and Joe Burrow are playing some tough opponents, and they, they have film on Cleveland from this year. They could come ready.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really, really fun matchup. You're going to take what do we think the over-under is going to be here? How many points do you think are going to be put up here?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at that, I'm looking at least 27-24 type of game, maybe keeping it close, with a lot of passing from Burrow. It could be, a close game, but it could be a close but no cigar situation as well.
We're looking at definitely over 50. I like that. And also another thing to highlight, this is the OBJ's first game of like coming back into who he was this season. He had a great touchdown against the Bengals in week 2, I believe it was. So I expect him to not necessarily, maybe not have a game quite like that, but a pretty good game against a team that he did well against to kind of get his momentum going.
Yeah, definitely. And the next matchup we have, these are two teams that need momentum, like no other right now. The Falcons are 1-5, and they're hosting the Detroit Lions 2-3. Matt Ryan and Matthew Stafford. We're talking about two of the best arms of the last decade, but also we're talking about two guys whose teams have struggled around them. And we're just gonna have to look at the Lions with the dominant win last week. Can they continue to do that with everybody pretty much walking over the Falcons this year?
I think that they absolutely can, because DeAndre Swift showed us that they have a running back. And that's not to say that AP and Kerryon Johnson aren't good running backs in their own right. It just seems like they found some sort of offensive identity with DeAndre Swift in the backfield, which is huge. I think this could be one of the highest scoring games, if not the highest scoring game of the weekend. These are two pretty bad defenses.
Yeah.
And Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley and Hayden Hurst had a great game last week, especially Julio Jones, with 8 receptions for 137 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Vikings last week. And when Julio is on the field and when Julio is healthy, this offense plays better. Everyone plays better from top down.
Yeah.
It just seems to just sort of click when he's in there. He's back in the lineup. Everything seems to be going well. I think these two defenses are really bad. But all that being said, what I feel like the Lions have, and going back to that identity of the run game, the Falcons still don't have that identity with Todd Gurley, and I love Todd Gurley, and I expect him to hopefully find that offensive running identity for them. But they finally found it last week for the Lions, and I think that could be the decision maker for them when in the fourth quarter, if it's a 35-28, 35-24 kind of game that you're looking at, and you need to now begin to drain out the clock, the Lions now have a guy and an offensive unit that can do that. And that to me is the difference maker that is going to give the Lions the edge here, is I think that they have a slightly more balanced offense. But this is, again, going to be a really, really high-scoring game. Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley going to have a great game against a pretty bad secondary. There's no Desmond Trufant again, so it's going to be all on Jeff Okudah to try to get one of these guys. And on the flip, you have Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay. Yeah. So, and TJ Hawkinson, who's a pretty good red zone target for them. So I expect them to have both an offensively great game.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm looking for, like you said, is Swift right here. There are offensive weapons galore, and there is bad defenses. That's a fantasy owner of either of these teams. The Lions players, the Falcons players. Put them in this week.
100%.
These guys are going.
Don't put in their defenses.
Don't put in their defenses. Absolutely. If you have their defense on now, I'd put them right back on the waiver wire real quick. But, this is going to be an interesting game for me. This is going to be a great matchup for Jeff Okudah, a rookie that we were super excited about to go to Detroit. He's a great man coverage guy. But like you said, he's got to deal with a two-headed dragon this week, Calvin Ridley and Julio. And, we saw Julio last week against your Vikings, as you mentioned, go off. But we have seen him do this before. When he is fully healthy, he takes that week off like he did. He always comes back. And I like Detroit this week because of DeAndre Swift. And I think that he's going to rush for more than Todd Gurley will rush for. I think that he's going to have a lot of targets. We've seen him be, he has 1 red zone touchdown receiving, but he's been targeted as a rookie 3 times as a running back on the goal line. This guy has the potential for a lot of touches. He has the,
my papers.
and I'm just looking for the Lions this week. I like it. I liked it. DeAndre Swift. I'm looking for Matthew Stafford to utilize his weapons. But like you said, it's going to be a high score.
It's going to be a good one. I will say this. It's definitely going to be. I'll take an over on 52 points easily. I think 52? This could go. I think this could go.
I will also take that over.
I like that. I like that. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Again, we're tuning in. That's all the time that we have. Enjoy the Sunday early afternoon games.
Yeah, thank you all for watching. Stay safe. Check us out, justsayingfootball.com, Just Saying Football on YouTube, and Just Saying No GWJS on Instagram for all your updates. Thank you all for watching.
Thank you.